Okay, so here are problems number 15 through 20 for the Accuplacer Advanced Algebra and Functions. I'm just going to apologize right away because I am a little bit sleepy, but a couple of you guys have asked me for these questions, so I wanted to give them to you. So question number 15 says, if x is not equal to -2 and not equal to 3/2, what is the solution? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write 5 over x plus 2 is equal to x over 2x minus 3. So anytime you have two fractions that are set equal to one another, you can consider them a proportion. And the way that you can solve a proportion is by cross multiplying. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to do x times x plus 2. We're going to set that equal to 5 times 2x minus 3. So now we're going to go ahead and distribute. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. 5 times 2x is 10x, and 5 times -3 is -15. Now I'm going to go ahead and see that because there's an x squared, I want to get this all on the same side, and I'm going to make it into a trinomial and see if I can factor from that. So that means I have to get all of this to this left side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 10x and add 15 from both sides. So it's going to be x squared minus 8x plus 15. And that is our trinomial that we have now. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to factor that trinomial by making it into two binomials. X squared can be broken down by x and x. Then I'm going to find two numbers that multiply to get 15 that add to get -8. So that will be -5 and -3. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set those numbers equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to add 5. So it's x is equal to 5. And I'm going to add 3 to both sides. X is going to be equal to 3. So my answers are going to be 5 and 3. So our answer is going to be A. So next time when you're taking your test and you see something like this and they're asking you to find the solution, all you have to do is cross multiply. Once you cross multiply, try to get all the information to one side. Go ahead and get it to be a trinomial. Factor the trinomial, set them both equal to 0, and you'll be able to figure out what the solutions are to the equation. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next question, question number 16. Triangle JKL and triangle PQR are shown above. If angle J is congruent to angle P, which of the following must be true in order to prove that the triangles J, K, and L and P, Q, and R are congruent? Okay, so congruent means that they have equal sides, equal angles. So J, K, and L line up to P, Q, and R. So this means that J and P would be the same angle size. Angle K and angle Q should be the same angle size. And angle L and angle R should be the same angle size. Okay, there also should be the same sides. So sides J and K and P and Q should be the same size. K and L and Q and R should be the same size, and so on and so forth. So if you have a congruent triangle, you have to prove that not only are the angles congruent, but also the corresponding sides are also congruent. So if you look at choices A, B, C, and D, these, for example, B is just showing that the sides are equal to each other. So anytime you see two letters like J, K, and P, R, that is showing that those are this side and another side. And by saying that they're equal to one another, that means this side and this side are equal to one another. So even though this is showing that two sides are equal to one another, it's not proving that the triangles are congruent because we don't know that there are any angles that are also the same size. So B would not be the answer choice. Same thing with C. C is just showing that the sides are equal to one another. That's not enough proof to say that two triangles are congruent. You need equal sides and equal angles. D, now this is talking about the angles being equal to one another. That's great, but again, you need congruent sides and you need congruent angles. D only shows angles that are equal to each other. So the answer would be A. And the reason why the answer is going to be A is because it's showing sides are equal to each other. And then this is showing angles that are equal to each other. If you're not familiar with the symbol for angle, this just means angle L. This means angle R. And then the squiggly lines, that's how to say that those two angles are congruent. And if you're talking about lines, you're usually having two letters with side by side, and you'll just have an equal sign to show that those two lines are congruent. So that's what these symbols in the middle mean. So if you're taking this test and you have this question, just pick the answer that has angles equal to each other and sides equal to each other. That's the only way to prove that a triangle is congruent. Okay, question number 17. Now, if you've watched my other videos, I did explain question number 17. I didn't like question number 17. I don't like their explanation. But the simplest way to explain this, let's read the question first and then I'll show you. It says, in the function f of x equals a x plus 2 x minus 3 to the b power, a and b are both integer constants and b is a positive number. If the end behavior of the graph is positive for both very large negative values of x and very large positive values of x, what is true about a and b? So I'm just going to go ahead and write what they give us because that's a lot of information and a little bit confusing if I'm going to be honest. So let's figure out what it is that they're talking about. So they basically said that they want the behavior to be positive. So if we look at this equation but put it into standard form, in standard form it would be ax squared plus bx plus c. When a is a positive number, then it makes a happy face parabola. And the values would be in a positive direction. If a is a negative number, then it would be a sad face parabola, and the answers would be going in a negative direction. The numbers would be going down. So a is going to have to be positive if they want it to be a positive graph. So we already know that a has to be positive if they want a positive graph. So a can't be the answer because that says a is negative, and c can't be the answer because they say a is negative. So now we eliminated two choices just by knowing that when a parabola is a happy face, it has a positive number for a, and the answers are going in a positive direction. So a has to be positive. So now what they're asking is, if the value for b is odd, or if it should be an even number. Should the value of b be odd or even? And what they want to happen is, whatever number we put in for b, they want us to end up getting a positive answer when we put in a very large positive number and we put in a very large negative number. So what I like to do is I like to test this out just with a very simple number. So for example, I choose the number 1 for b, and number 1 is an odd number. So I'm going to go ahead and say a is 2, and we're going to be 2x plus 2, x minus 3, and I'm going to put 1 in. I'm going to put 1 in for b. So I can see here that 2 times is 2x plus 4, and then we're going to multiply that by 3. Because this is only to the 1 power, it doesn't make a difference. So then it would end up being 2x squared minus 6x plus 4x minus 12. So it would be 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. Okay, so we put in an odd number to see if this should be odd or if it should be even. We're just testing it out. So because we put in an odd number, we ended up getting this as an example choice. So they want to say, if you put in a very large number for x, a large positive number, they want you to end up with a positive answer. They also want you to be able to put in a large negative number for x and end up with a positive answer. So let's go ahead and see if we use this equation that we got by using an odd number, if this proves true. So let's go ahead and put in a large positive number. So we're going to put 2, 10 squared minus 2 times 10 minus 12. 10 is 100, 2 times 100, minus 20 minus 12, 200 minus 20 minus 12. That is going to be a positive answer. So the first thing proved true. When you put in an odd number for b, when you put in a large positive number for x, you end up with a positive number at the end. So we already got the first thing. Now let's see what happens when we put in a large negative number. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and choose this large negative number. See if we can still get a positive answer. So 2 negative 10 squared minus 2 times negative 10 minus 12. So that'd be 2 times 100 plus 20 minus 12. So that'd be 200 plus 20 minus 12. 220 minus 12 is still a positive number. So this one proved true. So B, we put in as an example 1, which was an odd number. And when we put an odd number in for B, we were able to put in a large positive number and a large negative number for X and still get a positive answer. That's what they wanted us to test and find out. So the answer is going to be D. A is positive for a positive outcome, and B has to be an odd number for a positive outcome. Now, that was a lot, and I'm not going to lie, that was a hard question. If I was taking this test, I don't know if I would spend this amount of time just on one question, especially because I know what the other kind of questions are like. But if you have the courage to go ahead and do it, do it. But like I told you in the other video, if you've gotten this far, then the test has already been able to recognize that you're doing well. So if you get this far into the questions, then you've already done a good job. So don't stress yourself out. Don't feel bad if this was a little bit confusing. The next few problems that we're going to cover are a little bit better, to be honest. But just don't feel overwhelmed or don't feel bad if this wasn't an easy problem, because it wasn't an easy problem for me either. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Take a deep breath and begin. All right, it says, which of the following equations is equal to 2, 5x equals 7? Okay, so when we're looking at this problem, we're seeing that, okay, log is in the answers, so it's a logarithm. So we're just going to remind ourselves that the basic equation for a logarithm is b of x is equal to y. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify what b is equal to, what x is equal to, and what y is equal to. So b would be 2, so b is equal to 2. X is equal to 5x, and y would be 7. Make sure you write this on the side of your piece of paper. Identify what b, what x, and what y is equal to. Because they lined up, we were able to see b is 2, x is equal to 5x, y is equal to 7. Okay, so now that we have b, x, and y, we can go ahead and put it into x is equal to log of b, y. Okay, so x is 5x. So we're going to put 5x is equal to log. B is equal to 2, so we're going to put 2 down here. And then y is equal to 7. See how easy it was to fill in when we completed this box? Okay, but if you look at this, it's all asking us what x is equal to. So right now, this x is not by itself, so we have to get it by itself. What is causing the x to not be by itself? The 5. How do we get rid of the 5? We divide both sides by 5. The 5's cancel out, and you're left with x is equal to log 2, 7 over 5. So our answer is going to be B. Very simple. Just line everything up, figure out what bx and y is equal to, put it into the standard equation, and then go ahead and just get the x by itself, and you'll be able to get the answer. Very simple. Okay, number 19. If x is larger than 0, y is larger than 0, which of the following expressions is equivalent to x minus y over the square root of x minus the square root of y? Okay, so x minus y is equal to the square root of x minus the square root of y. All right, so I'm already looking at the answer choices, and it looks as if some of these answer choices have been simplified. So I have to figure out how I can go from this equation to a more simplified version of it. So that means I may have to find factors. So what I'm going to try to do, and I've also read the description of how they want us to solve it. They want us to recognize that x minus y could also be written in another form. It could be written as the square root of x squared, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, and then minus the square root of y squared. So x minus y can also be written like this. And how is that possible before we move forward? Well, square root and square cancel each other out. So if they were to cancel each other out, you'll just be left with x. You bring down the minus sign. If the square root and the square cancel each other out, you just be left with y. So this is the same as saying this. Now I'm going to show you why they want us to do that. So if we write it this way, when we put it over the square root of x minus the square root of y, there's a possibility for us to now factor the top. So what we can do is we want to be able to separate this by showing that it's a difference of squares. What that means is we can write it like this. So we're going to write it the square root of x plus the square root of y times the square root of x minus the square root of y over what they have as the bottom, square root of x minus the square root of y. So this was just the difference of squares. So difference of squares means there's going to be a plus sign in this one and a minus sign in this one, but everything else is going to be the same. So now we actually can simplify. So we can eliminate this and this. Because they're the same thing, you can cross them out. So you'd only be left with the square root of x plus the square root of y, and so the answer is going to be C. So again, this problem was a little bit more complicated. Again, it's the advanced portion of the Accuplacer. So they're expecting you to be advanced if you've gotten to this answer, these questions. The Accuplacer also adjusts to your level. So again, if you've gotten to these advanced portions, that means you're doing so well, you should be proud of yourself. But again, because they're advanced, they're not going to be the easiest questions. So what did we do? Just as a tiny, tiny review. So we took x minus y, and we rewrote that. Square root of x squared minus the square root of y squared, because that's the exact same thing as saying this. And then we brought down square root of x minus square root of y. And then we were able to rewrite this one more time by making it the difference of squares. So x and then the square root of y. And then we're going to write it the same way, but now it's going to be a subtraction. And now we're going to keep the denominator the same. And now that we have this and this the same, they cancel each other out, and you're left with a simplified answer, which was C. Okay, good job, guys. I'm so proud of you for not giving up. Let's go ahead and look at question number 20. All right, we get through this last one, and you've gotten through the entire test. You should be proud of yourself, so let's go ahead and do this. So in triangle A, B, and C, angle C is a right angle. So I'm going to go ahead and I like to draw the triangle. Oh my gosh, that looks terrible. Guys, I'm so sleepy. Oh my gosh. Ah! Okay. That's the best I could do, I guess. All right. A, B, and C. And they said that's going to be a right angle In triangle A, B, and C, angle C is a right angle. Okay, so I did that wrong. In triangle A, B, and C, angle C is the right angle. If cosine of A is 5/8, what is the cosine of B? Okay, so when we're finding the cosine of A, you should write this down in your notes. You take the length of the side that's adjacent to angle A, so it would be this side, and you put it over the hypotenuse. Okay, so if you have 5/8, that means 5 is the length of the side that's adjacent to A, so 5 would be this side, and the hypotenuse would be 8. So the hypotenuse would be 8. So we would have to figure out, okay, what is the measure of this side? So we would do the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared is 5 squared plus B squared is equal to 8 squared. So it would be 25 plus B squared is equal to 64. We'd minus 25 from both sides, and we get B squared is equal to 39. And then we do the square root of both, so B would be equal to the square root of 39. I'm just going to leave it like that because there is no perfect square root of 39. So now they're asking us, what is the value of cosine B? So now that we know that this missing side is the square root of 39, we can figure out what the cosine of B is. And the reason why we can figure out what cosine of B is because we're supposed to know this, so write this down in your notes. Cosine of B is the length of the side that's adjacent to angle B over the length of the hypotenuse. So we just found the length of the side that's adjacent to angle B, which was the square root of 39, over the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse was 8. So the answer would be cosine of B is equal to the square root of 39 over 8, and so the answer would be C. So the only way you'd be able to answer these questions is if you remember the Pythagorean theorem, which is a very easy basic equation that a lot of people actually like doing. I've always liked doing it. But then you also have to remember that cosine of A is equal to this, the length of the side that's adjacent to A, angle A over the hypotenuse. And then you also have to understand that cosine of B is the same thing, but just in relation to angle B over the hypotenuse. Okay, you guys, well done. I hope you guys do well on your test. Don't forget, I offer tutoring if you need some extra help. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Bye.